All right, let's get to the real world news. Iran downplays Israel's retaliatory attack on an airbase.
After 5 days considering its next move, Israel launched an attack on Iran in the early hours of Friday morning. The target was an airbase near the central city of Isfahan. A few hundred miles north in the capital Tehran, passengers were ordered to evacuate the international airport for fear of an attack there. By first light, the skies were calm.
I like that. I like mainstream media being like, well, this was a retaliatory attack. Why did Iran's attack never get considered as a retaliatory attack? It was an unprecedented attack. An unprecedented attack by Iran. It's like, yeah, sure, it was unprecedented. So what's up? How come it's retaliatory when Israel does it, but not retaliatory when Iran does it?
Again. This was filmed at the nearby Isfahan nuclear facility. Not itself a target, but by hitting close by, Israel had made a point. By breakfast time, Iranian state media was reporting that a few small drones had been shot down. It was the start of a building narrative.
Everything is back to normal.
The sound heard early in the morning today in Esfahan was not an explosion. It was our powerful air defense firing at a suspicious object. It caused no damage or incident at all.
Iran's attack had like 300 missiles and drones. Little bro, not saying it wasn't retaliation. I'm saying it was definitely different than this feather of an attack. I agree. We are in agreement that this is a feather of an attack. I still think it is unacceptable and unimaginable that Israel chose to do this, because it's not like there was no guarantee that Iran would not retaliate. That's number one. Number two, America told them not to. So the fact that they still did it wasn't even a fuck you to Iran as much as it was a fuck you to Joe Biden. That's what I said last night, and I will reiterate that position. Israel, by doing this, especially when there was no guarantee that Iran would not retaliate at all, basically just, instead of violating Iranian sovereignty, especially considering how minimal and how anemic this attack was, they basically only violated American sovereignty, or rather America's control over the region. They literally were just like, someone in the chat yesterday likened this to, you know, when you tell a child not to kick the chair and then they just do like one last kick after you say, don't kick the chair. That's what they did. They were like, nope. And then they stop. And then the child stops, but it's still like, nope, I'm going to do one last one. I have the last word. I told you so. And it's so crazy, bro. And you know America isn't going to do shit about Israel going against their word. Yeah, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Don't you think there's more to it that Biden officially says don't attack and privately Israel says do whatever it takes? No, I think Biden genuinely did not want Israel to attack. I do believe that. You want to know why I believe that? Because obviously if Israel does attack Iran and then Iran fucking retaliates, it's bedlam. It's World War III. America inevitably gets drawn into the conflict because they have an unconditional commitment to defending Israel. This is such a funny take. Oh my God. I wish I had that same opinion. I wish I came up with it myself. Sean says, remember when Joe Biden's dog kept biting everyone a lot? Like it was in the news constantly attacking people dozens of times. It happened. And it was confusing to me because why would they let that go on for so long? It's the White House. They can't stop a dog attacking people. If any movies are made out about the Biden presidency in the future, they're gonna have a really handy metaphor for the whole administration right there. Metaphor aside, and speaking just about the dog situation, it really is weird by itself that the dog hospitalized multiple people and they still kept letting it near people without a muzzle. Like, what are you doing? Oh, for those of you who are asking the obvious question, which is really, there's a really funny answer for it. What was Israel's excuse to attack Iran the first time? Well, the excuse was these guys are Hamas, which they're not, but they were saying that, well, maybe they planned the attack, but they didn't really, and also they didn't even say that really. Some other outlets did report on it, so, even though it was false. They don't really need to give a fucking reason for why they attacked the Iranian embassy. Let's be for fucking real. However, a very funny piece of information came out yesterday. An article in the New York Times titled, we didn't think, well, not titled that, but I'm paraphrasing here. We didn't think Iran would be that mad if we violated their sovereignty by attacking the fucking Damascus consulate compound. So now, even if they obviously thought Iran would retaliate or not, they want to communicate to the Western media, at least, that, yeah, no, they are that stupid. When I was a little kid, my older brother used to hit me all the time. I was a stubborn kid, so I always hit him back, but he was so much bigger than me, so in return, I got beat up even worse. Still, I always felt like I had to give the last blow, so at a certain point, I would retaliate with just a light tap, one that he wouldn't even notice. That was my way to feel like I won. This is what Israel's response in Iran was like. For once, it could not act like the neighborhood bully as it usually does, but had to resort to the methods of a 6-year-old. I can understand why it drives some Israelis crazy. They're used to Israel being able to terrorize the region without suffering any real consequences. Reality has changed, it seems. Yeah, internally, I think this, like, again, anemic response that was a light tap that I think wanted to show Iran that they have the targeting capabilities to avoid their anti-air defenses to a certain degree and can, like, operate drones either within the Iranian borders or very close to the Iranian borders through other regional actors that doesn't have to directly be an Israeli national sitting on top of a fucking mountain, is probably like the message that they were trying to convey. But ultimately what ended up happening is that it was so, like, minuscule that Iran did not turn around and make a bigger deal out of it whatsoever. I hope they don't respond to this, by the way. I think that that would be the reasonable thing to do. And of course, Ben-Gvir and those in Israel, as BM correctly is pointing out here, are very fucking upset because they think it was, you know, lame as hell. It was tiny. Yeah, I mean, here, this is exactly, look, Iran says it will respond at maximum level if Israel acts against its interests. This is from today, after the strike. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian speaks next to his Sri Lankan counterpart Ali Sabri following a bilateral meeting during his visit in Colombo, Sri Lanka, where he says Iran will respond at an immediate and maximum level if Israel acts against its interests. If Israel wants to do another adventurism and act against its interests on Iran, our next response will be immediate and will be at a maximum level. No, it's not before. No, this is after. Bro, his comments follow reports of an Israeli strike on Iran early Friday. Hello, it's right here. Hello, guys. Read. In the name of Allah, read, okay? It's literally the first surah of Quran. Read, he said. And to those of you who are confused, and you might be saying, well, didn't they say this before the attack? Yes, they did. So why are they saying it after the attack? Because they're basically saying the attack is negligible and so marginal that it basically did not happen. If only Israel would have operated in a similar fashion after the Iranian retaliation. But they didn't. Okay? They didn't. You want to know why? Because they're fucking childlike. Because this is almost identical to the same assessment capabilities that Israel has. This is why I am saying that this was a bigger fuck you to America than Iran. It's just objectively a bigger fuck you to America, especially after the United States of America literally was like, you can invade Rafah as a treat. Please, we'll do anything. Okay.
Social media in Iran mocked Israel's
I'm gonna go
attack.
pee.
Another indication that the government was starting to play it down. Iran's president gave an address on television later in the morning. He spoke at length about the economy and only had this to say on recent tensions with Israel.
Striking Israel was necessary, obligatory, unifying, and a source of pride and power for our great country.
Rishi Sunak, who had called for restraint as the tensions rose this week, refused to be drawn on the strikes.
Just unequivocally condemned the dangerous escalation that they displayed over the weekend, condemned it in the strongest possible terms, and that's why we participated in international effort over the weekend. Right now, everyone, calm heads should prevail. Any significant escalation in the region is not what anyone needs. It wouldn't be in anyone's interest.
In Italy, at a meeting of the G7 foreign ministers,
Good afternoon.
The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, wouldn't be drawn on the strikes, but said that America wasn't involved in any action against Iran.
Our focus has been on, of course, making sure that Israel can effectively defend itself, but also de-escalating tensions, avoiding conflict, and that remains our focus. Again, I'm not going to speak to anything other than to say we were not involved in any offensive operations.
There have been no reports of casualties from the Israeli attack, and Iran state TV hasn't shown any video of damage caused. Israel seems to have chosen a limited response, and Iran appears to be brushing it off. Maybe this crisis is fizzling out. Alistair Bunkle, Sky News in Jerusalem.